My name is Sini Forssell. By day, I'm a researcher interested in food sustainability issues. And I also felt I wanted to do something in my everyday life about that. And so when the food co-op and the urban cooperative farm project started in 2011, I joined straight away. And it was a really interesting project, so I also joined the board of directors of the co-op shortly afterwards. So I've been active in running the co-op for a few years now. Well, I think there was pretty strong interest there for a kind of alternative in buying food. So people were starting to think about where their food comes from, and they were getting maybe sick of their food just coming from this kind of global anywhere where they didn't know who was growing it and how it was grown. So there was that interest, and there was already a food circle or a food buying club in the Herttoniemi area in Helsinki. So there was already a sort of group of people established who were interested in those things, and I think also there was a growing interest in for people to do gardening themselves, food, vegetable gardening, but that's kind of a challenge in areas like Helsinki where most people just don't have the space for that. So what really sparked the thing was that a French food advocate, Jocelyn Parot, gave a talk about CSA in Helsinki, and this is where a couple of people, the founders of the co-op, got that idea, okay, we need this in Finland too. And a few months onward, it was already happening. So we already had the group of members signed up and ready to go, and then the first challenges were finding the grower, which we did quite quickly. Then there was finding the field. That was proved somewhat more difficult, but luckily that happened soon enough, so we were able to get everything started in that first year. We had about, I think it was 115 households. Yeah. So that was the first year, so it was a smaller operation than it is now, and we only had one grower, and there was less of a variety of vegetables that we grew. So I remember there being a lot of potatoes, and yeah, it wasn't very glamorous. There was the pickup was organized in somebody's garage and so forth. So it's developed from there. CSA, or community supported agriculture, is something that originated in the 1960s from movements in Japan and Germany, and it's pretty widespread today in, for example, the US, but relatively new in Finland. So the ideas of community supported agriculture they're sort of there in the name. So it's about a community of people doing things together, and a really central idea is that of risk sharing the economic risk between farmers and consumers. So in a CSA, a group of consumers will pay a share pay in advance for the farmer to then get a kind of share of that farm's harvest. And I think it's a really, especially from the consumer's point of view, it's a pretty fundamental change of perspective, because you're not buying food anymore. you're participating in and enabling sustainable farming. So our co-op in Helsinki is it's slightly different from what your typical traditional CSA would be, in that we don't work with an existing farm. We got together as a group of member households and we rented our own field and hired our own growers. And so the way it works is that we make advance payments in the springtime, and then the growers get to work. They buy seeds and equipment needed and everything, and they grow our food throughout the summer. And the harvest season starts in June, first a couple of weeks in June, where we get sort of new crop potatoes and spinach and salads and rhubarbs and those kinds of early crops. And then we get and there's a break in July, and then from August until late November usually we get weekly harvest shares. And the shares are delivered to 3 different distribution points in Helsinki, and people go there and pick up whatever is there for the week. And it's usually a pretty huge bag of a great variety of different vegetables, which are all organically grown and really fresh because they've been so recently picked. So the co-op members are expected to work a little bit every year. So we have a kind of 10 hours every year per household of working in the field or at the distribution points or doing any administrative things. There's always a lot to do, so you can really sort of take your pick. And this has been a really important part of the community building and sort of participatory aspects, in that people start to think about more, the work that's actually involved in growing the food, and they see it for themselves. And I think that actually has quite a significant effect on people's thinking. So, for example, last year we conducted a member survey, and we asked about whether membership in the co-op had affected the way people think about wider issues in the food system and sustainability of the food system, and 78% of the respondents said that it had. So I think that's a quite significant contribution of this kind of model. In terms of volunteering, we also organize a international summer volunteering camp at the field. This is something that's organized. It's a 2-week camp, and it's organized together with a Finnish organization. It's called KVT. It's a branch of an international. I think it's called Service Civil International in English, the worldwide organization. So that's a camp that's open to people living in foreign countries or foreigners living in Finland. So they work together in the field with our grower and have kind of educational and social activities with the co-op members as well. So it's always a little bit difficult to look too far into the future, because it's been such a steep learning curve every year, and every year has just brought about unexpected things and changes and developments. But I think what we're really hoping to do is to find make the project really sustainable in every way. So economically sustainable, socially sustainable, and also we're thinking about already the farming itself is very environmentally sustainable, but we're starting to think more about kind of renewable energy and more sustainable transport solutions and so forth. And our hope is, of course, that this kind of new thinking will spread through the activities of our co-op, and more people will start thinking about the sustainability in their food system.